I came from the mud. There's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree. There's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night. Try to catch me howling at the moon.
Hello and welcome on www.thepapare.com, Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub. We are back here at the SSC Tennis Complex, bringing you the live action of the gentlemen's final between Tehan Wijayaman and Kiran Vairavanathan. As you can see on the screen, both the players are set with the match umpire Darke Lavala in the middle for the toss, and then they'll have 5 minutes of warm-up time, and then we get into cracking tennis between these two gentlemen. And just to wrap up of the day, the ladies singles was won by Anjali Capoeira, the current national champion, beating Janali Manamperi. Unfortunately, Janali was not able to gain the crown that she lost last year. She was the second runners-up, rather the first runners-up in the SSC Open 2022 as well. So congratulations from the Papare team to Anjalika on being crowned as the ladies singles champion of the SSC Open 2022. We've completed the formalities here at the gentlemen's single, and both the players will have 5 minutes of warm-up time. First Capital SSC Open Tennis Championship gentlemen's final, ladies and gentlemen. Tehan Wijayaman taking on Kiran Vairavanathan. Kiran is a surprise package. We've spoke about it at the start with Gayanga as well. It'll be interesting to see how this pair get into this match and challenge each other.
Hi Mashan and hi everyone. So Tehan, as the top seed, as expected, made the final, but Kiran had a very good run where he overcame Satu Nilivira, the bottom seed, and he also had a couple of close matches playing against Apna Pereira. So I would say that he's in really good nick, whereas Tehan wasn't pushed too much in the early rounds. He had a fairly comfortable win in the semi-final as well, and this will be an interesting matchup, considering that at the Nationals in the under 18, Kiran beat Tehan, and Tehan, although ranked higher than Kiran, has that at the back of his mind.
Yes, very true. Kiran has definitely progressed a lot over the last few months, starting with the Nationals finals, of course, the under 18 finals where he upset Tehan. It was a bit of a comeback win, Tehan winning the first set and then Kiran coming back and upsetting him in the super tiebreak. Further to that, I think Kiran has shown himself to be a worthy opponent through his ITF results as well, actually winning a few rounds and getting to the quarters of the second week of the ITF hosted in Sri Lanka. So Kiran definitely has the game to win this match. The question will be whether Tehan can hold him off. Both players very strong on their returns, not so much on their serves, so I think quite a bit will depend heavily on who serves better and who manages their service game. Also the question of whether if Tehan gets out to an early lead, he will actually close it out this time.
The thing about Kiran he has generally been a little bit of a slow starter, but he does get into the game and he maintains that level of consistency once he gets into it. So I would say, is the kind of person who would benefit if the match goes on for a 2 or 3 setter, and the longer it goes, Kiran would consider it to be his advantage.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you there. Also, I think the courts at SSC this year a little bit slower, more clay on top of the surface, so you can actually play yourself into the points. Tehan tends to thrive on his speed quite a bit, takes time away from the opponent, but if that is negated, cooler conditions today as well, then Kiran definitely in with a chance.
So one advantage I would say that Kiran has, Tehan being a lefty, he uses the lefty's forehand cross-court angles really well, and but that kind of feeds into what I would consider Kiran's stronger side, his backhand. His backhands up the line has been like a real feature, especially in the match that he played against Chatu. So
100%, yes.
It'll be a very interesting matchup because I think each one's strengths are kind of playing into each other. So
Kiran, one of the very few players who really uses that backhand up the line. You see a lot of cross-court trading between a lot of the players, but Kiran has his ability to pull off the backhand down the line last minute with a lot of disguise, and is fairly accurate with the shot. So definitely his backhand down the line going to Tehan's backhand as well. A play that we might expect to see if Kiran is to win this match. But I still feel like the whole match rides on how well each of them is going to serve.
I think so too. So looking back at the semi-final, I can remember against Chatu, Kiran started off he started serving and started off with 2 double faults and was love 30 down and lost that first service game, and that cost him the first set. So it shows that a little lapse in the on your service game will be exploited by the opponent. So like I said, I think the serve will play a very important role, especially for them to break into each other's dominance.
100%. I think also Tehan a good front runner if he's serving well. So if you have a situation where Kiran is able to break, if Tehan is able to break early, you might expect him to win the first set. But then the question is, does he put him away, or is Kiran able to play himself back into the match? Very similar trend between the under-18 finals and the match against Chatu for Kiran, where he had a comeback victory and it ended in a tie-break. So he's also proved to be quite tough in these crucial moments where the pressure is really high, and he's beaten a couple of favoured opponents recently, so a win here would mean a very big deal. That's 3 wins in a row.
Right. And also getting a little bit away from the 2 players and their tennis, the background of these 2 players, they have a very interesting and very rich sporting background in their families, with Tehan's father Sanjay being a former Davis Cup player and also a fellow member of our SSC team as well, and his uncle, the famous Kumar Sangakkara, being Sri Lanka national captain, and his aunt, mother's sister, was a 6-time national champion in tennis, whilst Kiran's father was a Sri Lanka squash champion, and Kiran's aunt was a national champion and Sri Lanka player in tennis, Chaya Vairavanathan. So very interesting sporting backgrounds both of them come from.
No shortage of guidance there for sure.
Yeah.
Okay, we are underway.
Out. Block 15.
Pretty nonchalant start from Tehan there, missing the first ball.
What?
Conditions are nice and cool and very good for tennis.
What?
Double fault there, just an indication of some early nerves.
Block 30.
Tehan generally uses a bit of a hybrid serve. It's not an all and out and out kick serve or a slice serve.
Out. 40.
Very nervy start here.
Very nervous start, very edgy. So 3 errors has kind of given Kiran triple break point in the first game.
Tehan also playing with the wind here. Generally the wind has been blowing in that direction, which means a little bit more control is required on your strokes.
Out.
Yet another error by
Game Vairavanadan.
Tehan
First game.
gives Kiran a fairly comfortable first game, which was error strewn, double fault and 3 unforced errors.
All the errors interestingly coming off the forehand, which is the wing that Tehan normally uses to dominate. Also going cross court. I tend to think that Tehan's real strength is when he gets the ball to load inside out and set up the point. Over here it was all cross court forehands that went out.
Yeah, most of the time I have seen Tehan hitting inside outs, getting the person wide on that court and then hitting the cross court angles. So I think he was just kind of feeling out that game, and unfortunately he wasn't able to hold on to his serve.
Vairavanadan to serve.
It'll be interesting to see how Kiran can actually consolidate this game.
15
Good
lap.
start there. Always good to start with a positive first serve.
Exactly, it feels good when you're serving and get your first serves in.
It's been one of the huge keys in his game, the first serve improvement.
All.
Nice passing shot there. Kiran probably could have had a play there.
Exactly, I think he wasn't too sure whether the ball was going to fall in, so that a little bit of indecisiveness with the ball floating worked in Tehan's favor.
Lovely shot.
30-15.
The down the lines have long been a feature of Kiran's game. Both players feeling out the wind a bit.
Right. So just before that I thought that they were going to keep the ball more to the middle of the court, but when he gets a chance, Kiran doesn't let go of that.
Yes, he's an ultra aggressive player for sure.
40-15.
Good use of the slice. It's an interesting feature because I think about a year ago you would have pegged Kiran as a hardcourt player, but his game on clay has improved so much, so he's managed to mix in patience and shot selection with his natural aggression, and it's really paying dividends.
40-30.
Nice return there. As always, every service game is bound to be quite difficult when Tehan's returning well, and it's usually a feature of his game.
Yes. So still the game is kind of trying to find its own,
Hold.
because the rallies are very short for
Here.
the time being.
It's probably going to be a feature of this match anyway. I think both players not the kind to maintain lots of rallies cross court. For example, I think if Chatu was here, there would be a lot more rallies going forward into this match.
Replay the
Definitely a
point.
big contrast to last year's final between Luka Neza and Vibhuda Vijay Bandara.
Out.
Kiran making
Game Vairavanadan.
4 out of 6 first serves there. So
With 2
definitely
games left.
feeling his serve early on. This is a huge game for Tehan. He needs to start finding his feet in this game.
You could see the difference. I mean, all the way to the first service game, getting that very first serve in the first point was very important. I mean, that's what kind of kept Kiran slightly ahead of Tehan in that game. He didn't play exceptionally well, but I think getting those first serves in allowed him to overcome unsettled or not yet settled Tehan.
Exactly, yes. I think men's tennis is so dependent on the first serve.
Out. 15 love.
That's a bit of a loose error there, not taking advantage of his second serve.
sometimes this is something when you have an upper break, people tend to think that you can take chances, so you don't even
Ball.
exploit second serve opportunities.
Yes, it's sort of a feature, I think, in Sri Lankan tennis. You see a lot of these kids making this kind of mistake, whereas I think what you need to do is just stick to the plan that was working for you.
Exactly, yeah.
Out. 15 all.
That forehand slice approach
36.
that Kiran uses is something that is
Third love,
still,
third love.
to me, it looks like work in progress, because he does make a exaggerated kind of movement in trying to come under the ball.
Out. 40 love.
Yes, also probably needs a little bit more footwork
I
to get a
guess.
little closer
I
to
guess.
that ball.
So he loses a split second of time coming up when he tries to do that. So
Yes. Love, a chance to put this game away. Lovely shot again. Kiran really has that
40,
down the
15.
line forehand in his pocket there. Really unloads. Lots of leg work.
So you can see a little bit of a pattern where always when he gets the ball down the middle very deep and gets a short response from the opponent, that is when he goes for the down the line on either flank.
Yes.
So it's, I think, a definite game plan of his.
Out.
Also pretty
40,
smart
30.
of him to unload on a ball that's not really going across him too fast. Very patient with the forehand cross courts until he really sees the opportunity. It's a good hold.
Good hold and
Game
very
Vijay
well
Mana.
played point. I mean,
Vajravanathan leads 2 games to
first,
1.
first chance he got of using that cross court forehand, he made use
So
of it.
2-1. Early indication showing that Kiran is ahead, but Tehan slowly getting into it. We'll be back after a short commercial break.
Love.
Started off the point very well with a good serve and a good cross court. With the sun going behind the clouds, we might see the lights having to come on early. That was a bit of an issue in the semi-final as well, and even with the wind picking up a little bit, that may affect the way the players approach the game. Tehan, for instance, will try to make use of his angles rather than hitting full on.
Out. 30
So
love.
first impressions are that Tehan's not pushing Kiran wide enough on the backhand. Therefore, He's not getting a chance to open the court and use his inside-out forehand.
Yeah, it does look to me that Tehan is at the moment only reacting to whatever that is going on and not making any moves on his own, really. Whereas Kiran seems to be having some kind of game plan in his mind and executing it the best he could. Definitely the getting that early break helps.
Yes, for sure. Tehan will have to impose with his pace. His biggest strength is his weight off the ground and his ability to return serve well. Perhaps a little stressed with the expectation as well. Hence the early nerves.
'15.
Again, very smart play there. Using the angles and the length of the court. Very multi-dimensional play from Kiran. And he's still putting in a very high percentage of first serves. Even though he dropped the pace there, just getting that first serve in always puts you in front.
Out.
Bit of an
40,
error there.
30.
That's two errors actually when the ball has come down the middle of the court, jamming Kiran.
Exactly. I mean,
Perhaps,
like you were mentioning earlier, I think that is the area where Kiran's movements come into question a little bit.
Yes. Seems to be quite speedy going side to side. But when there's a change of pace or he's jammed back down the center, found wanting a little bit. So perhaps Tehan will have to push him back deep down the middle before opening the court up. So
Out.
That
Yes.
is a smart rally. I mean, he was focusing on keeping Kiran on the back foot by playing to the middle and using depth rather than looking for angles early on.
yes, this seems to be the template that Tehan will have to follow right throughout. Excellent work keeping him on the back foot first. And then opening up the short ball where he can really attack. Also leads to an error in the first serve for the first time in this game. Big point here.
Out.
Break point for the first time on his serve.
Advantage Vijayman.
Kiran's going to need a big first serve here. Tehan sort of settling into the pattern that he needs to use. Really pushing Kiran on the back foot, especially on that backhand. Hit balls take spin quite a lot.
Net first serve. Ball. Ball is it? Out.
That's a bit of a waste.
Because there
Yes.
is a really big opportunity for Tehan, having missed his first serve. All Tehan had to do was,
Ball.
keep putting long balls, deep balls, and keep putting the pressure because Kiran was on the back foot. But let's see how he
Perhaps a
gets
little
out
bit
of it now.
pressure he felt there because he knew his backhand was being directed to Kiran's forehand, and he's been hitting that pretty well throughout the match.
Advantage Vayonada.
Again, good first serve. Surprised that Tehan took one hand off there. It was well within his strike zone.
I
Game
think
point here.
it kicked more than he thought it did.
Possibly caught the line as well.
Net first serve.
Lights have just come on at SSC.
finding the right time to use the angle. Tehan
Yes.
worked that rally very well as well.
Again gets set up with that heavy ball that pushes Kiran back. Right away he's got a lot of angle to work with. Did well to pounce on that ball.
Out. Advantage, wide on other.
Characteristic error again. Tehan usually thrives on his return of serve. When he starts missing them, doesn't really bode well.
Both of them so far have been a little bit suspected balls coming at their body.
Correct.
And they have not been able to control them or have been putting returns that have been put away by the opponent.
Out.
Three
Game wide
return
on other.
errors in that game.
Lead 3 games to 1.
I would say that was an opportunity missed by Tehan because he worked himself into a position of putting a lot of pressure to break Kiran's serve, but he was not able to pull the trigger, so to say.
Pretty interesting to see what will happen in this game. Tehan had a very edgy start to the match on this side of the court. The wind still blowing pretty fast. So shot.
Just went down the line.
Excellent
15
shot.
love.
Great feel on the forehand, just picking it up on the half volley. Not a very easy shot to play off that left foot.
Fall. Out. 15 all.
An example of the deadly Kiran down the line backhand there. It's the footwork that really enables that shot. Manages to load on his outside foot and get off the ground just at the right moment. No, he's been working hard on that for about the last year, and it really sets up that surprise element.
Fall.
First real cat and mouse rally there.
The first time I think that Kiran was a bit impatient and tried to shorten the point without staying in the rally. But I think from the beginning itself, that brave second serve that Tehan put gave him the advantage in the rally.
Slightly wasteful drop shot. Lovely play.
30 all.
Huge backhand cross court to open up the opportunity to finish the point. I don't know, you've been around the scene for quite a while. How do you rate these two in terms of prospects for Sri Lanka's future
So I
in
was
the
very,
Davis Cup?
so 2 years ago when I saw Kiran play the final against Luka in
Fall.
I think it was the Hardcourt Nationals under 18 or something.
Yes, semi-finals.
So, yeah,
yes.
semi-finals. So in that I was very excited to see Kiran because I knew that we
40,
needed a third player to be in the equation with Tehan and Shatu coming up, and he was like perfect. And after that, with his success in the ITF doubles playing with
Wait.
Shatu,
Yes.
meant that he was versatile enough to fit into a four-man team concept as a doubles option as well as the third singles player. So
Game Vijayamana.
with Yasita
Why
and
don't other
Yasita
lead
and
3
also
games to
let's say Shamal into the equation, the future looks quite bright with these people being there to fill in the boots of the people who are retiring now.
Yeah, more on that in a bit. Commercial break coming up. 3-2 to Kiran.
not so much sun performing there.
We're back live. Kiran Vairavanathan serving up 3-2 in the first set against top seed Tehan Vijayamana.
Ball.
With a break, slight miss hit on the serve there.
Tehan now very much into his stride.
Now 15.
The wind picking up even more. It's been a feature throughout the whole week.
And being playing at SSC, I know that with the lights on,
Yes.
from when you're for a right-hander serving from the DSN Naga ground end, the light comes into your eyes and it's not going to be easy. And Tehan will have the same problem when he's serving from the SSC cricket ground end. The lights will be in his eyes. So that's probably why Kiran started with a double fault there.
Nice backhand.
15 all.
Good use of the short cross court. Kiran will have to come up with certain shots that are shorter in nature and faster. His swings generally not made for very heavy topspin. He'll have to flatten it out and rely on his pace.
Thirty 15.
It's a bit of a waste.
We're quite impressed with the consistent depth that Kiran has been having in his drives, especially when he's controlling rallies. Lots of people tend to use a lot of pace, and by doing that they kind of lose out on the depth.
It's also
Kiran
interesting. I
manages
think
that well.
Tehan tends to hit a backhand every 5-6 shots. So inevitably when he goes from forehand to backhand, there'll be a little lack of rhythm.
40 15.
Kiran showing that he doesn't really fear the Tehan forehand, willing to go there a lot before opening up the court. So far the game plan is working.
Out. Game Vairavanathan leads 4 games to 2.
Game there initially not called, but overruled by the umpires after Kiran showed the mark. 4-2, so edging closer to the business end of this set. Kiran will really be looking to press home his advantage with a break here. Perhaps needs to cut down on errors on his return. Just keep the ball in play, start dictating terms to Tehan's forehand.
15 laps.
That's the issue here.
So I think the fact that he has a break is kind of working in his mind, although he's trying to shake it away.
Yes.
So he ends up giving an occasional free point to Tehan.
Wait, please, wait. Sorry.
Tehan on the other hand will have to figure out how to increase the weight on his forehand so that Kiran cannot repeatedly go there. That's a good serve.
30 laps.
It's an excellent serve. No aces in this match so far. Usually
Nothing
a
yet.
feature of a men's tennis match.
Ball. Run, bull.
Perhaps underlining the fact that these guys are stronger in their returns of serve than the serve itself.
That's
Right.
a factor too, but
Ball
also
up.
I have noticed that, I mean, other than Kiran on 1 or 2 occasions, everyone has been, hitting over the ball or coming on the side of the ball rather than hitting flat serves. So they weren't really looking for
Ball.
aces yet.
One of the reasons could be the slow nature of the courts this year at SSC.
Maybe the wind
Yes,
might be a factor as well.
exactly. Yeah.
Out. Game Vijayamana. Vairavanathan leads 4 games to 3.
Of course, the court's in excellent condition this year. Really a pleasure to play on.
A lot of hard work by Raja and the ground staff, and they've been really dedicated.
Yes.
That
So
is a fairly
4-3
comfortable hold for Tehan.
Yes, so 4-3 to Kiran. We cut off to a commercial now. Okay. Vairavanathan up 4-3 in this men's final. Brilliant point there. Excellent defense, drawing the error from Tehan.
I would say he did all the hard work and got into a position of strength, but Kiran hung in there very effectively and didn't allow Tehan to make final use of that.
Great serving. Kiran looking for his second consecutive win over Tehan, who is the top ranked player in Sri Lanka at the moment. Of course, their last meeting coming at the under-18 finals. Kiran in a comeback win after having lost the first set 6-1 actually. So this must really bode well for him, having being in the driver's seat in this first set itself. Of course, still a long way to go for this match to finish. Tehan's of course been in this situation many times before and will know what it takes to come back.
Interesting to note that 4-3, 30-15 in the first set, and there haven't been anybody venturing to the net yet.
Yes, unless really required to, but usually the point seems to finish with the short ball itself.
Right. The approach shot would give them the chance of winning the point.
There's so another example of that.
Point, yeah.
Nobody really having to volley. That's very true. Both players actually pretty good at net. Good doubles players.
Out. 40-30.
Former national doubles champion. Kiran winning both weeks of the ITF partnering with Chaturya Nirivida.
So even Tehan's national win was partnering Chatu.
Yes, exactly. Lovely drop shot.
Excellent drop shot by Kiran.
Game by
Seems to be pulling out all the stops. I think backhand to backhand would have to favour Kiran quite a bit more. So Tehan's forehand is going to have to fire if he wants to find his way back into this match.
Also, I feel that since Kiran has made the initial break by getting Tehan's serve early on, Tehan definitely has to cut down on his unforced errors. I think that is really hurting him. Even in the rallies that he's been playing well, he ends up with an error that was, hardly affordable.
This is an important game. Tehan should force, even if he's losing this set, should force himself to be serving first in the second set. You don't want to be going down a set and then giving your opponent a chance to serve first. Really puts you on the back foot.
Ball. Out.
Kiran going for customary backhand down the line, not quite getting his body behind the ball there, sort of reaching out for it. A lot of arm coming into play.
Ball. Ball. 30-15.
Double fault at a crucial point. This is another big point in this game. Tehan needs to find the first serve, get his forehand into play as soon as possible. And there you go.
So all the elements that Michelle was talking about was there, getting his first serve and then getting the forehand into play, hitting a cross court followed up by a off down the line winner. It's got him to 40-15.
Game Game
So
Vijayman.
Tehan finding the range on his first
Varanathan
serve.
lead 5 games to 4.
Bodes well. He's going to
New ball,
force
please.
Kiran to serve this out when we are back.
Ball
We'll be back in a couple of
Ball
minutes
together.
after a commercial.
New balls.
Back live. Kiran Vairavanathan, the third seed, serving for the first set in this men's final. Fairly conservative
15
point,
love.
but dug himself out with that lob.
Excellent.
Picture
lob, yeah.
perfect.
I thought Tehan's response to the drop shot was pretty good as well. Side spinning deep shot, but I think Kiran read that very well.
Definitely has a lot of feel on his backhand.
Thirty love.
Big advantage now going into the rest of this game. Couple of first serves will be interesting to see if he chooses to remain with his conservative topspin serve or goes for something bigger at this point. Free point could really help his cause.
Net. First serve.
Still opting for the body slice serve there.
Wait, please. Wait.
Probably looking to target Tehan's backhand.
Out.
Nice defense from Tehan Vijayman.
30-15.
First serve not wide enough.
But you can see a pattern emerging where Kiran is trying to get Tehan's backhand, but not serving across him, but serving at him.
Carry on.
So in the early stages of the match, it seemed like Kiran was actually peppering the Tehan forehand with a lot of hard and deep shots. Sort of lost his length a little bit here, which is why he probably needs to switch over to finding the Tehan backhand. There again, the ball too short. Vijayman just pouncing on it and redirecting down the line. Opened the point up for him. Second serve here, huge point. Could be potentially where the first serve turns. And it's break point instead of set point.
I think it's a little bit of uncertainty creeping into Kiran's game with Tehan hitting the returns. From the body language, you can see that he's a little bit concerned about his own service game.
And there it is, the break.
Game Vijayman.
Perhaps a bit too passive there from Kiran
5 games
Vairavanathan in
off.
trying to serve out the set. He did win the first 2 points, but I felt like he should have gone for a bit more on his serve.
Exactly. I mean, the time that you said it'll be interesting to see what he would do. That's the time that he hesitated. He wasn't
Yes.
too sure what he was going to do, and that hesitation cost him the opportunity
Tehan
to
being
serve.
given a lifeline here. Chance to get back into the set and potentially force Kiran to serve to stay in it. Aggressive point there from Kiran, but maybe a game too late. I think if he had done this the last game, we'd already be talking at 6-4. But yes, I think if Kiran is directing to the Tehan Vijayaman a forehand, he needs to go big. Otherwise, he's putting himself on the back foot.
Out.
Miss hit there.
Love 30.
Perhaps the wrong shot should have gone down the center.
Another opportunity kind of opening up with love 30 on Tehan's serve. These are little plays that you get in matches towards the business end of any set. Once you make a break, you tend to relax a little bit in your mind.
Again, brilliant field.
Love 40.
He's done that twice in the last 2 games now.
He's using the drop shot to really good effect and he's gotten himself to a position where he's looking at 3 break points again.
The urgency in Kiran's game just like rose a level as soon as he was broken. I think he just needs to maintain that through the rest of this passage of play. Tehan's going to have to find his serve and his forehand. Super important. Well played. Excellent get there from Vijayaman. Ensuring he was balanced as he hit, as he picked that drop shot up. Pushed it away, just a bit too wide of Kiran. Still break point though, and he's going to be hoping for a first serve here. Loose shot there from Tehan Vijayaman. 2 feet behind the baseline and going too flat. So Kiran re-breaks again. It's 6-5 in the first set and he'll serve for the set. Commercial break on.
Hello and welcome back on www.thepapare.com, Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub. We've got Surya Bibili, director of 3G Sports, a co-sponsor of the SSC Open 2022. Welcome on thepapare.com. It's a pleasure to have you here. Let's talk about the partnership with SSC Open. You were a sponsor last year as well. How do you feel about SSC Open?
So we basically been a sponsor not just last year, but of course we've been a sponsor for a good, I think, 12 to 13 years. So the partnership with SSC has been quite a strong one, quite consistent. And my feeling or my thoughts about the partnership itself is that we're more than happy to support tennis. This is something we've always told, and it's not only the SSC Open, we've always been there throughout for major tournaments to try and support the upliftment of tennis in Sri Lanka. So obviously SSC is one of the key clubs in the country, and SSC Open itself has been in the forefront among the ranking tournaments. So we are delighted to be part of this tournament, and I'm sure we will continue to support, and especially SSC Open and many tournaments that SSC does.
The sponsorship could be from a marketing angle, but it's also important to see how much of value we generate in terms of the quality of tennis being played and what's the outcome of the tournament. From a sponsor's perspective, how do you feel about the quality of tennis that's produced here and the talent that's been engaged in SSC Open?
So we've seen a great improvement and a lot of great performance over the years. So as you said, apart from being a sponsor and whatever the benefits from a sponsor from sponsoring the tournament itself, it's always been great to see the players improving and them getting the kind of support. And I think just not about us, I think if you take all the sponsors for that matter, I think we should be really appreciative of the support they've extended over the years, because that has a immense impact.
Thank you, Mrs. Surya Bibile. That's Director 3G Sports, who is a co-sponsor of SSC Open 2022, and we're just nearing the end of the first set.
30 all here. It's big point. Point of the match so far, ending in an unforced error, and it's break point again. So we've had 2 consecutive breaks. This could be the third. Kiran really in the ascendancy there, and like you mentioned before, Aruna, nobody really uses the opportunity to come into net and try something. That was probably a
Getting to the net through drop shots, but not seeking position at the net.
Yes. Break point here to get into a tie break.
Net, second serve.
Nervy second serve. He'll be looking for a good second serve here. That's excellent depth from Tehan Vijayman, and he breaks back to make it 6-all in the tie break.
So after 3 consecutive breaks, we are into a tie break.
So just a bit of history. Kiran won a final set tiebreaker to make the final here, and he also won the last tiebreaker that these two played. Tehan will be hoping to reverse that tide. Momentum slightly in his favor at this point. Needs to start off with a good serve, serving ahead in this tiebreak as well. Excellent first backhand to set that up right on the line, pushing Kiran back, pushing Tehan back and drawing the short ball, and then an immaculate inside-out forehand to win the point.
Although the inside-out forehands seem to be the ones that get the points, it's the depth in the previous shot that has always been serving Kiran well.
Absolutely. Finally a slice approach, but not deep enough, and Tehan picking the bones out of that one. He really needed to be covering the line as soon as he went down the line, but just a bit too short. I think Tehan would have won that point anyway. 1-all. Oh, what a shot there. Excellent. Half volley pickup is a brilliant return from Tehan. Kiran just using his field, stretching there and managing to direct the ball almost like something you would expect to see from a Federer.
Exactly.
Wet, please, wet. Wet.
Quality of tennis is just picked up in this tie break. Winners all the way through.
I think that was a poor choice of shots by Kiran. He tried a drop shot to a side where Tehan already was, so he didn't have to cover much court. And it was always going to be on the back foot if Tehan reached it.
Also overdoing the drop shot a bit, I think, at this point, whereas he needs to keep a few more balls deep. Tehan, for his part, really finding the range on his forehand in this tie-break and in the games leading up to it. It'll be interesting to see who can get their forehand to dictate the point in this point.
3-2, Vijayaman.
Kiran trying for it, making an unforced error in the process. Perhaps not the place to be flattening out the forehand from, 3 feet behind the baseline. These are sort of the things that maybe these kids will pick up as they get a little bit more experienced. What bodes well for them in their future is that they've got their foundations all sorted. Perhaps a little bit more strategy and understanding of situational awareness will help them become a bit more rounded in how they choose their shots.
Very interesting observation about Kiran is, although he seems to have basically an idea of what he wants to be doing, I don't know how much he's picking up from what happens in the game as it goes on. So, so most of the things that served him well in the early part of the set, he has kind of stopped doing. Maybe partly due to the fact that the adjustments that Tehan have been making has been influencing the way Kiran was responding as well. So basically what was happening was, I mean, Kiran was hitting down the middle and hitting with a lot of depth, which was getting him short returns, which he was exploiting.
Yes.
Now when it is slow in coming, he's trying to make his move by either hitting drop shots or trying to create the angle before the short ball comes. So that's kind of playing into Tehan's hands.
Yes, very true. I think partially this is attributed to Tehan finding the range on his forehand.
Definitely, yes.
And
yes.
I think where Kiran missed a trick was not closing out the game at 5-4 when he was 30 love up.
Absolutely.
He's given a chance for Tehan to
I think
get
he
back
should have
into this
definitely
match.
done a little bit more with his serve there.
Yes.
You know?
So Tehan in the ascendancy here in the tiebreak, 4-2.
Out.
That's a loose shot. Again, trying to finish the shot from
Vijayaman.
behind the baseline.
So in the early part of the set, a thing like that, he would have still hit down the middle with more
Exactly.
depth.
In fact, running out of patience because of the situation as it is.
6-2,
Brilliant.
Vijayaman.
Tehan finding his range exactly at the right time.
Now that's 4 set points to Tehan. First one on his serve.
Be looking for a big serve here.
Ball.
Went for it. Went for it up the tee. Didn't quite make it. Lovely volley. First foray into the net from either player that has resulted in a volley winner. Pretty brave of Kiran to do it down set point. He's going to have to come up with a couple more now. Actually was down in the tiebreak that they played in the Nationals finals as well. He came back from that. It'll be interesting to see what happens here. Again.
That is the first ace, I guess. Of the
Yes,
set.
and came off a kick serve.
Yep.
Not
6-4,
particularly flat serve.
Vijayaman.
It's interesting that this boy seems to just go for that bit extra whenever he's down. Seen it a few times now.
So he has saved 2 set points.
Correct.
Now facing the third one on his serve.
Tehan will be desperately hoping for a big forehand here that he can dictate off.
Out.
Okay, the onus on Tehan Vijayaman to find
6,
a winning play.
5,
So
Vijayaman.
Kiran stuck with his plan of peppering Tehan's backhand, which served him well.
Perhaps moving his body with a little bit more urgency down set point, helping him set up a little bit better. His feet were definitely moving better for those forehands.
Interesting to see how he would serve.
Big point here. Brilliant play from Tehan Vijayman. Brilliant comeback
First
to
set,
secure the set.
Tehan Vijayman 7-6.
A set that he just seemed down and out of for most of it, and he just managed to come back and steal it back.
I think it was Kiran's to take when he was serving at 5-4 to begin with. He was up 30 love, not just up 30 love, but he was calling the shots at that time. And that indecisiveness at 30 love was what happened.
We'll soon be up with the replay of the points at the set and walk through the observations. Of course, early break to start the set, Taruna. And Tehan Vijayman on the back foot throughout. Managed to break, staring down the barrel of 5-4 down and 30 love down. But came back with some excellent tennis in a timely manner. Kiran losing his patience a little bit in that set and should have put it away. But in recent times, Kiran Vairavanathan has found a way to come back, usually after losing a pretty fast first set. The question now will be, since this set has already gone pretty long, is he going to be able to find his way back?
And also to shrug off the disappointment of having being in a position to serve for the set twice. Must be working in his mind also.
Correct.
You can see the highlights of the set, especially the early part of the set where most of the hitting by Kiran was to the middle of the court before he set up. That's where he was dominating. Like he was ahead of Tehan playing that kind of game. But as Tehan managed to get his foot into the game, you could see that those openings were not forthcoming as easily as it did in the early part of the set, which made Kiran go for options that he didn't have to in the early part of the set. So managed
yes, a little
to
bit
get
more
Tehan back
drop
in
shots, trying to finish from behind the baseline. Have to say that Tehan Vijayman has not really played anywhere close to his best in this match so far, but still finds himself a set up. If he can go up a gear, he should be favourite to close this match out now.
I can definitely see that he has not been serving well this whole set.
Yes.
I've been fairly lucky to not lose the set despite losing his service twice.
Also brings up a pretty interesting point that you mentioned at the start. Kiran very well he's really had a good lead up into this match where he's played a lot of matches in the under 18s as well as here. But Tehan, of course, this might be his first tough match, to be honest.
Exactly. Definitely the first tough match in this tournament. So the second set has started with Kiran serving.
Error on his part there. A lot of confidence here from Tehan Vijayman in the start to the second set. Really trying to impose his will on this match with his forehand, and it's been working so far.
Intensity in his eyes as well, where you can see that he's stepping in, moving a little bit quicker between points. And
first two games of the second set, regardless of whether you win or lose the first, always important.
Wait.
Always important. Credit to Tehan for staying intense through this period after having escaped through that first set.
Love 40.
Interesting pattern of play emerging here. Tehan pushing Kiran back and then approaching immediately off the forehand, and he's won 2 points using this play. Might be something that he can continue throughout the set if it works for him. We haven't really seen a play that has worked completely in his favour. He sort of hacked his way through the first set. But if he's able to use this as a tactic, Kiran is going to have to come up with something as a response. Leg's not working as much as it needs to for the serve there.
Out. 15,
Rather
40.
think that he missed an opportunity to sneak into net there off the return.
Exactly, yeah. But Kiran needs to settle down and tell himself that, that he's on par with Tehan rather than thinking that, you're playing with a guy who's ahead of you. It tends to happen when you lose a set, especially a title contested set, against a person who's supposed to be the better player.
Yes, definitely.
Out.
I would think though that
30, 40.
Kiran, given his recent history in these last few tournaments, should believe that he belongs up there with
I don't think
upper
he
echelon of the game.
subscribes to the
Yeah,
seedings and all that in his mind. I think he thinks that he has a fair chance.
I think he was completely unseeded when he took out the 16 nationals in 2020.
Right.
So that's a very important break of serve.
Game Vijayman.
Kiran showcasing what worked for
First game,
him
second
in
set.
the first part at that point, peppering Tehan's forehand side with his own, but then sort of relenting in between. And once Tehan got to start pressing on his forehand, that was curtains for the point. Kiran looking a little bit heavy with his legs. Let's see what happens from now on.
Especially when Kiran has to retrieve balls from behind the baseline, Tehan is able to make use of the opportunities the short ball gives him. Tehan's weakness in the past, in the early part of the first set, was when he was not able to dictate terms. So Kiran was able to control the rallies that way. But now you can see with the confidence growing and with the scoreboard pressure on Kiran, Tehan seems to be a different kind of player to me.
Yeah, on the flip side, it also seems like Kiran's legs are a little bit heavier. Mostly
Possibly.
Psychological, I believe. These guys should be fit enough to last.
Definitely,
a long
definitely.
match.
I think, it's the mindset and how you kind of perceive what's going on the scoreboard.
15 love.
Tehan continuing with his run of points. Suddenly looking pretty unbeatable.
30 love.
And there you see it again. Where in the first set he was a bit passive with the forehand, he's now approaching, using the forehand. He sort of figured out a play that's working. If he's completely aware of this, probably expect a lot of forehand approaches coming from Tehan. Again, excellent point.
And also you can see that
love.
Tehan seems to be realizing the importance of taking control of rallies pretty early in the rally itself.
No ventures to the net almost entirely in the first set. And in this second set so far, he's at least come in 5 times.
Yeah.
Hold.
Complete turn of events here.
Out. Game
And a
Vijayman.
hole to love. Very comfortable hole to love.
Leads 2 games to love.
I think the psychological impact that will have on both players, especially the positive impact on Tehan, will be huge. You could see the spring in his step, plus the fact that he was willing to step in, move forward at every half chance he got. And I'm sure the opposite of that is going to kind of haunt Kiran's thinking.
Love 15.
Kiran's going to have to come up with something now, otherwise Tehan's going to run away. A double break might be too much to come back
Exactly, and also the way Tehan is approaching the game, unless Kiran takes the initiative, really digs in,
Hold.
going to run away from him very fast.
15 all. Net for serve.
First serve percentage has gone down quite a bit.
Out.
I think at this point Kiran needs to really start
15-30.
going for the first serve a little bit more and potentially redirecting and directing it to the Tehan backhand. So like right now a serve directed to the tee with some pace would actually help set up perhaps a short ball. The way he's going right now, Tehan gets his forehand into play pretty early.
Exactly.
Which
And steps
means,
in
yes.
and controls the rally. I think Kiran needs to slow down a little bit. Maybe,
Ball.
I don't know, spend a bit of time between points to make sure that Tehan doesn't run away with the game with the momentum that he's having.
30 all.
Went for the serve down the tee there, missed it. Tehan making slightly uncharacteristic error, uncharacteristic of the last few games that is. His forehand wasn't firing in the early part of the match, but certainly has taken a turn over the last few minutes.
Out.
Break point chance here, and Aruna, I would think a break here would probably
Very
seal the
modest.
deal.
Seal it exactly. Even there, I think the inside out forehand return on the due scored by the lefty Tehan was excellent.
It's not enough slice on that. Perhaps needed a slightly shorter placement to force Tehan to hit a backhand. Right play there from Tehan Vijayman,
Yes.
trying to step in and take the forehander. He just didn't quite time it well enough and exposed the open court as a result. Kiran good enough to take advantage of it, but nothing wrong with the intention there.
Exactly.
Advantage Vijayman.
Again, brilliant return. Tehan's actually starting to take these returns well inside the baseline now, which should be an indication that Kiran needs to start going for his first serve more.
Tehan is not just stepping in but following on after stepping in with the next shot as well.
Ball.
And that's a huge break there.
Vijayman.
So
Three games
a
left.
set and 2 breaks up, 3 love up here. Tehan Vijayman all but through for the SSC title. Let's see what happens in the next few minutes. Kiran Vairavanathan is going to have to come up with a huge effort to pull this thing back. We'll see you in a bit after a commercial break.
Wait.
Back on air. Tehan Vijayaman looking to consolidate his set and double break advantage.
And for Kiran, I think he needs to step in and start hitting returns instead of just responding to what Tehan is doing, because Tehan seems to be running away with it right now.
Yes, absolutely right. I think in the early part of the match, Kiran's ground strokes were actually peppering the Tehan forehand side. He was just not giving them up short. So taking time away and then opening the court. That's not quite happened, partially because Tehan's definitely been striking his forehand better. There's an example.
Out.
So there's an example right there in the middle of the point. Kiran going huge with his forehand towards Tehan's. The early part of the match that would have resulted in a short ball, but Tehan definitely getting his body behind a lot better, stretching out that point a little longer. Kiran, to his credit, sticking with the plan throughout the point, and now finds himself at love 30 with a good chance to at least pull one break back, give himself a fighting chance in this match. Once again, fantastic use of the forehand.
15,
One
30.
inside out, one inside in. Clinical. Kiran showing his retrieval skills there, but not quite enough.
Yeah, the
Tehan.
scrambling returns didn't have much effect.
Out. 30 all.
$30 all now. Pretty big game.
As the game continues, we have Johan Thiakaratne here from Demo, one of the co-sponsors of SSC Open 2022. You were a sponsor last year as well, Johan. Let's talk about the partnership with SSC Open. You've been sponsoring this for a while. How do you see the partnership?
Yeah, we feel
40, 30.
privileged to partner the SSC tournament. I think we've been doing it for close to 10 years now. And of course, yes, we are very proud about it. And every year we feel the talent coming up. And of course, yes, Demo is quite proud about it.
You spoke about the talent. I think, from a sponsorship perspective, other than a marketing angle, we also need to see the value that we create in terms of the tournament and the talent produced here. How does Demo feel about the talent and the players produced by SSC Open?
Yes, so if you take the corporate purpose of Demo, it's about fueling dreams and aspirations. So we always look out to partner activities and events where we get the opportunity to fuel the dreams of the youth and to help them to come up. So we found this tournament to be the ideal platform to invest and ensure that the youth have an opportunity. So as I said again, we feel privileged to be a partner in this, and SSC has also been very kind to us.
15,
has always been
love.
approaching us, and yes, it's a good partnership to be on board.
All right, thank you very much, Johan. Thank you for joining with us, and a huge shout out to all our sponsors.
We wish the tournament all the very best.
Thanks, Johan. And yes, huge shout out to all our sponsors. First Capital, our primary sponsor, and all the co-sponsors, Papare and Sons, Demo, Synergy Tennis and 3G Sports, are making everything possible for us to bring the live stream and also for the organizers to ensure the continuity in sports. Michelle is back with us together with Arnaud to take you through the rest of the game.
Thank you.
Tehan Vijayaman fighting off a deficit there to hold and come up
40 love.
to 4 love, but Kiran finding his range for the first 3 points of this game. Desperately needs to close this game to give himself a fighting chance. Just a huge change in the way Tehan's forehand has worked in this match. He definitely was struggling to find his range at the start, but he's managed to play himself into it until he's got his rhythm and now really dictating play with his forehand.
So the thing with Tehan is, once you give him the opportunity to get into the game, that is how, like typical left-handers, that is how they kind of dominate games. But Kiran, to his credit, in the early part of the set, he was able to have his own plan, where he was restricting the opportunities that Tehan had. So now, once again he needs to create that window for himself in order to put pressure on Tehan.
He's done part of the job by holding here, and he'll have a few more opportunities to break. Tehan Vijayamana firmly in the ascendancy now, a set and 2 breaks up. We'll be back after a commercial.
So Tehan serving again with the double break advantage, and the last service game he did give opportunities to Kiran, but let's see how he's going to deal with the hard-earned advantage he's got.
Out.
Kiran finding some depth in that point, but just pulling the trigger way too soon. That required maybe another backhand down the center.
Ball.
Yeah, you're right, because Kiran, I think he needs to keep it in the middle a little bit more, to wait for opportunity rather than take risks and give away the opportunity to Tehan.
Tehan clearly a step faster right now.
Very love.
Don't know if it's fatigue or just being discouraged from blowing his first set advantage, but Kiran not moving as sharply as he was in the initial
I think
parts of the match.
that is the fact that he lost the advantage of the first set is clearly telling in the way that he is playing.
On the flip side, Tehan, who started very sluggishly,
30-15.
now looking like a new man with the second wind. It looks like he can go on for another couple of hours.
Exactly, almost unrecognizable from the Tehan that was playing the first part of the first set.
Encouraging himself before the first serve. I think a win here for Tehan would definitely cement his status as the best clay court men's player. At least his losses to Chaturya and Kiran in the nationals coming on hard courts. But he did win the Colombo Championships, and now finding himself in this position here should clearly state that at the moment, perhaps with the exception of Yasita De Silva, who's not playing in this tournament, that he is the best men's clay court player currently in Sri Lanka.
Definitely, I agree with you, Vishal, because his results on clay court has been very consistent, and I don't think there's been anybody who has dominated him, let alone beat him in the recent times, recent events.
Yes, it's an interesting thing. Perhaps the slightly slower nature of the clay helps Tehan really wind up on his forehand as well as his returns. Serves not as critical on clay as they are on hard. All these factors combined. But definitely now just a game away from sealing the title and winning his second straight major Sri Lankan tournament, Sri Lankan Open tournament.
And also I think on clay there's this tendency of getting control in a rally, not with the first or second shot, but with the third or fourth shot, which suits the type of play that Tehan has very well.
Yes.
Love 15.
He's going all guns blazing now.
Seems to be in his elements now, stepping in and even punishing second serves from Kiran.
This match here a little bit more characteristic of the Kiran of maybe 1.5 years ago, where he would go away pretty fast after a long first set. Hasn't showed that in the last few months. But perhaps Tehan's game just proving a little too much for him.
And also I feel that bit of disappointment of not clinching it in the first set
15 all.
is also having an impact.
But this is sort of what will eventually separate like the really good players from the great. I mean, you need to be able to stick on no matter what and find a way to win.
So I think players like Djokovic, I think their real strength
Yes.
is the fact that they are able to focus on the present moment really well.
Definitely not easy, tennis being the mental game that it is. Again,
Disputed call.
Char umpire Dharaka Illavela going down to check the mark. Looks very close from that angle.
15.
And called in Kiran's favour. So score is actually 30-15 to the server there. Slight scoreboard error.
$40-15.
40-15 now. Fantastic cross-court forehand. Set up with the first serve. He needs more of that if he's really going to keep holding on. Might be a bit too little too late now.
Exactly.
But it still would be good for him to force Tehan to serve this out. Nerves can always play a part when you're serving for a title.
Ball. 40-30.
Needs the first serve here badly. We'll be all over this return.
Ball. Ball. Out.
Again, excellent use of the forehand.
Yes.
Interesting to note that as they focus a little bit more on the players, both of them dripping with sweat, nobody's opted for a change of shirt.
Right, true. Tehan was showing more and more of a typical left-hander's game.
Yes.
Whipping the cross courts and running around the backhand and dominating.
Points away from the title now. Kiran desperately in need of a big first serve here. For the most conservative slice.
Advantage, Vijayman.
And makes the error.
So that's
49
championship
to 8.
point to Tehan.
So Tehan Vijayman is the championship point. Not aware, Aruna, has he won this title before?
No.
He hasn't. So this would be his maiden SSC title to go along with his Colombo Championships title from 2021, which was finished recently.
Out.
Oh, that's what a way to save a match point there. Stretch down the
Yes.
line forehand, forcing the area. Only just. Almost making that ball on the line.
So Kiran hanging in there, and still I think he needs to get his basics, that is getting a very good first serve in, because Tehan is rampant. He's going to jump all over a second serve.
Out. Advantage. Vairunathan.
Not doing anything completely outrageous with that. Nice first serve in the corner.
Ball.
Still finding himself in a bit of a hole because he has to keep finding second serves here. Always gives a chance for Tehan to bring his forehand into play. There again, trying to rush it.
Sprays
Yes.
forehand wide, something that he was routinely hitting to the corners. It's back to deuce again.
See, it's just this extra pressure that Tehan has been putting on his forehand. Something Kiran finding himself perceiving the fact that he has to go for a lot more on his forehand.
Exactly.
Again, serve needed here.
Advantage, Vijayman.
Again, brilliant pass. Second match point, second championship point here. Chance to really establish his stronghold on the clay court scene in Sri Lanka.
Out. Game, set and match.
A brilliant win for Tehan Vijayman. A comeback,
Two sets, two
staring
up.
down the barrel of being 5-4 down in that
6-1.
first set. He's come back and really dominated that second set to win 7-6, 6-1. And Aruna, you would have to say at this point, clearly the best player on clay
Definitely.
in Sri Lanka.
I mean, coming back from 5-4, 30 love down, and to dominate thereafter, not just claw his way back into the game, shows a typical clay court player's resilience. Because the clay court players, when they come back, it's not just a case of hanging in there, but also kind of starting to dominate by hitting through, unlike on hard court. The hard court opportunities are taken when the opportunities are there, but in clay court you dominate in a way where you don't let your opponents come in. That is typical of what Tehan did today.
Your takeaways from the match for Kiran, Aruna?
So I think Kiran should realize that he should always stick with what works for him, irrespective of the scoreboard pressure. Here he let the score dominate his thinking too much, and as a result of that, the Kiran we saw in the first set was not there the whole of the second set.
Yeah, some highlights being shown as we speak. This is part of the second set where
Yeah, so what we
Tehan-
can see, what was shown there was the forays into the net, which is
Yes.
something that started happening in the second set, along with the dominance that Tehan had, which was mostly to do with hitting more forehands and being able to run around his backhand and dominate the court position.
Yes, 100%. Most of these players really showcasing dominance on the forehand. And all credit to him for finding the range on his forehand. He seemed to be struggling
Exactly.
early on in the match. But he certainly imposed his will there. Of course, yes, I think you're right. Kiran needs to find a little bit of sticking to the plan and staying mentally resilient to try to understand what was going on there in that first set. I also do feel though that perhaps he needs to get a little bit fitter in order to really play
Today
when
towards like you were observing
Yes.
in the second set, you could see that he's, let alone not having spring in the set, but he was like a step behind.
As for Tehan, I think he's on the right track. Just some improvements in serve perhaps. We are now getting ready for the presentation ceremony. We will have a commercial break and we join you right back again.
உங்கள் கிராமத்தில், உங்கள் நகரில், உங்கள் பிரதேசத்தில் உள்ள வீரர்கள் திறமையானவர்களா? அவளின் திறமைகளை நீங்கள் அறிந்து கொள்ள வேண்டுமா? தமிழ் பேசும் உங்களின் திறமைகளை உலகறியச் செய்யும் உங்களுக்கான யூடியூப் சேனல் www.youtube.com/thepapare-tamil.
ஒளிபரப்பு யாழ்ப்பாணத்தில்
මාතර කොටවිල ගම්පියසට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
සිද්ධාස
ඇඩ්මෝරටුව පියගම මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ක්‍රීඩාංගණය.
கிழக்கு மாகாணம்
සුගතදාස indoor stadium is the Fox Hill Supercross.
කුරුණෑගල සිටි ඇතුගල් පුරවරය
Papare.com අපි අද ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නේ නූරෙලිය ප්‍රදේශයේ.
Final showdown Candy Sports Club.
පොළොන්නරුව ජාතික සංකීර්ණයේ සිට
Catch the excitement real time. Be up to date with it all. Let us capture your milestones. Get it sizzling hot off the turf. Hear the experts break it down. Dig deep into the nitty-gritties. Be inspired by their greatness. Relive all the scintillating action.
உங்கள் கிராமத்தில், உங்கள் நகரில், உங்கள் பிரதேசத்தில் உள்ள வீரர்கள் திறமையானவர்களா? அவளின் திறமைகளை நீங்கள் அறிந்து கொள்ள வேண்டுமா? தமிழ் பேசும் உங்களின் திறமைகளை உலகறியச் செய்யும் உங்களுக்கான யூடியூப் சேனல் www.youtube.com/thepapare-tamil.
நேரடி ஒளிபரப்பு யாழ்ப்பாணத்தில்
මාතර කොටවිල ගම්පියසට ඇවිල්ලා තියෙනවා.
සිද්ධාස
ඇඩ්මෝරටුව පියගම මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ක්‍රීඩාංගණය.
கிழக்கு மாகாணம்
සුගතදාස indoor stadium is the Fox Hill Supercross.
කුරුණෑගල සිටි ඇතුගල් පුරවරය
Papare.com අපි අද ඇවිල්ලා ඉන්නේ නූරෙලිය ප්‍රදේශයේ.
Final showdown Candy Sports Club.
පොළොන්නරුව ජාතික සංකීර්ණයේ සිට
Catch the excitement real time. Be up to date with it all. Let us capture your milestones. Get it sizzling hot off the turf. Hear the experts break it down. Dig deep into the nitty-gritties. Be inspired by their greatness. Relive all the scintillating action.
Good evening once again, everybody, and good evening to those watching from home as well. A warm welcome to this prize giving for the gentlemen's singles. It was definitely a wonderful display of tennis from both these players. There was some amazing hitting from both of them, some wonderful rallies, and most importantly, a lot of heart shown by both players. So ladies and gentlemen, if you could please join me in putting your hands together for Kiran and Tehan. Joining us for today's prize giving, we have Mr. Arjun Fernando, a multiple national singles and doubles champion, SAF Games gold medalist. And we also have Mrs. Nisansala Munasinghe, Manager, Branding and Marketing Services, First Capital PLC. Mr. Johan Tilakaratne, DMO General Manager, Corp Coms. Mr. Surya Bibile, Director 3G Sports. Mr. Vasanta Vijayasekara, Honorary Secretary of the SSC. Mr. Neshan Gunasekara, Chairperson, Tennis SSC, the Tennis House Committee. Mr. Aruna Senaviratna, Tournament Director of the SSC Tennis House Committee. And Mr. Chammika De Silva, also from the Tennis House Committee of the SSC. Sirs and ma'ams, if you could please join me up front for the presentation. To get things going with the prize giving, I would like to call Mr. Surya Bibile to present a token of appreciation to our chair umpire for the final, Mr. Daraka Ellavala. I would now like to call upon Mr. Vasanta Vijayasekara to give away some awards to our ball kids. Now I'd like to call upon Mr. Arjun Fernando to give away the next set of awards. Ladies and gentlemen, firstly, your runner-up in this men's final, Mr. Kiran Bhairavanathan.
So first off, I'd like to thank my parents and my coaches. I mean, without them, I wouldn't be here. I'd like to thank everyone else that came here to watch the match and everyone that made the tournament possible. I've had a great run through this tournament, especially in the under-18s, and it's just been a great opportunity. Well played to Tehan. We played a great match. Yeah, thanks.
Thank you, Kiran, and big congratulations on a great tournament. Ladies and gentlemen, now presenting to you for the first time winning the SSC Open, your champion for today, Tehan Vijayamana.
Firstly, congrats to Kiran for making it to the finals. You know, being 17, it's not easy to make a men's finals, but it's great on your part, and you know, I'm sure you'll do much greater things in the future. I have a long list of people to thank, so I'm starting off with the two most important people, my parents. Thank you, Amma. Thank you, Tata. Tata couldn't be here today, but thank you for everything. You know, none of this would have been possible without you all. Thank you, Malli, for just being you, for all the warm-ups, and you for everything else. A very special thank you to my grandmother, who's been there for every match since I was small, like baby days, and she's been there since the beginning, and she supported me so much. I haven't thanked her enough. Thank you, Archie. To all my coaches, Niranjan sir, Renuk sir, and all the coaches who helped me, thank you so much. My games at the level it is today because of you all. My strength and conditioning coach Bilal, Trivedi, for all the help with my injuries. And obviously thank you to 3G Sports Head for always stringing my rackets. So many rackets they string every day. Important things for me. Yeah, I'm sorry. Sorry if I'm forgetting anyone, but thank you for everyone who came to watch. Thank you, my friends, for all the support. Thank you, Petra, for the mental training. Helped a lot. And thank you again for everyone who was a part of organizing this tournament. It was amazing. SSC, especially with obviously today with Papare and everything. Thank you for organizing. It's so great for the players to have experience like this. You don't get it in the other tournaments. And yeah, thank you obviously to the ball boys and everyone else who played a part like making this tournament happen. Thank you. And yeah, I just hope I can keep playing better and yeah, playing good tennis. Thank you.
And that brings our prize giving to a close. A big thank you to everyone for being here with us today, and we look forward to yet another great SSC Open next year as well. Thank you.
Welcome back on www.thepapare.com, Sri Lanka's #1 sports hub. We have Nisansala Munasinghe, Head of Marketing for First Capital, the primary sponsor of SSC Open 2022. Nisansala, how do you feel about the partnership? We've got two brand new champions for SSC Open, and from First Capital perspective, how do you feel about the partnership?
Yeah, as First Capital, we are very pleased to enter this partnership, which is a long-term partnership. We were the tournament sponsors last year as well, but now it's title sponsorship. So we are very pleased by the very high standards of performance upheld by the organizers. So I must congratulate the organizing committee. They've done a massive job and a marvelous job. The tournament resonates with our own brand promise of delivering performance first, and I think it's a great collaboration, and we look forward to great things in the future.
There's a slide whistle coming on, so we'll quickly get on to the next question. How do you feel about the competition that was exposed today, the talent that's been produced at the SSC Open? Because I think from a sponsorship perspective, it's also important that we create value out of the tournament. How do you feel about that?
That's right. So the tournament is one of the, I think, one of the top tournaments in the national calendar, and we're happy to partner and see this kind of talent coming out of the tournament and adding value to the nation. So I think as a group also that is our focus to sort of bring out the younger talents and give them the opportunities that they deserve. So I want to congratulate all the players and especially the winners today. Amazing performance.
Thank you, Nisansala Munasinghe. That was Head of Marketing for First Capital. And shout out to all the sponsors who made everything possible here. First Capital, the primary sponsor, PNS, Demo, Synergy Tennis and 3G Sports, the co-sponsors of SSC Open 2022. And with that, we will wrap up our coverage of the SSC Open Tennis Championship for 2022. Congratulations to all the winners and the two champions, Angelika Correa and Tehan Vijayaman. And with the hope of seeing you next year. Until next time, keep sharing the passion together with us.
I came from the mud, there's dirt on my hands. Strong like a tree, there's roots where I stand. Oh, I've been running from the law. Hope they won't shoot me down soon. They sing on a sleepless night, try to catch me howling at the moon.